Hello and welcome to the Arcimoto podcast. This week we're going to be talking with Joe Morgan, Arcimoto's first employee. He'll be talking about what it was like being with Arcimoto since day one. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Hello, welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in. Today we have with us Joe Morgan, the first employee of Arcimoto.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Would you want to take a minute, introduce yourself, what you do at Arcimoto, how you became a part of the team?
I'm Joe Morgan. I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm a loving father, loving husband. I love my team, and I've been at Arcimoto since day one. I probably have the best job at Arcimoto, which we'll have to dive into that, and I'll explain to you what I do day to day.
Yeah, and so what is that best job at Arcimoto?
So I'm technically assigned to marketing, but about 4 years ago, they asked me, if you could have your dream job at Arcimoto, what would it be? And I said, well, I love people, and I want to work on the people side of the house. So, I've been a liaison for customers, and then vendors, and then interdepartment stuff.
So just for regular human speak, what does liaison of people mean? Like you just...
like helper, fixer.
Make sure team members are working together appropriately and stuff?
Yeah. Anywhere they get stuck, I can go there and give help them get unstuck. It's a really great job, actually. And then I'm the unofficial culture officer, too. So trying to create an amazing culture where our people are loved and encouraged and, we pull for their greatness.
Beautiful.
Grow and develop them.
Yeah,
make our team more and more powerful.
I like it. And so as first employee, you've been a part of Arcimoto for 7 or so years now? How long has it been?
14 and a half, 2007.
14 and a half. How has the company grown in that time? What do you, when you're raising a kid, you see them day to day, you don't notice the difference. But if you were to step back looking at day one, 5 years in, 10 years in, 14 years in, what are the big differences that you've noticed in the culture of the company, seeing this that you're part of it?
Well, at first it was just a handful of super passionate people that had day jobs. So I volunteered nights and weekends for 5 months. And then Mark said, how'd you like to give up that big-ass salary, all those benefits?
Salary at where?
Marathon coach.
Which is what?
It's building luxury motorhomes for movie stars and race car drivers, $2 million product.
Wow.
They had the number one market share in the world in 2007.
And you were the people liaison there too, or?
Nope. I was a senior leader. So 4 years of lean, manufacturing, production manager, and then I also ran the creative team, and we created all the paint jobs and the elaborate designs and all that kind of stuff.
What was it like making that jump from a stable job to, at that point, Arcimoto was still very much so a startup, it wasn't public yet. What was that transition like? Were people in your life supporting it?
No. No, it was super challenging. I had one of the best divisions in the country or in the world, arguably, they could stack up against anybody, and they had the number one market share. These guys thought they were kind of arrogant about it. They would use untouchable and in a market crash, that kind of thing. But I was like, movie stars lose money, they lose a lot of money too, right? So in the wave of the market and all that. So it was a beautiful education, and $1 million education for sure. And I got to experience things some celebrity flying in on a helicopter, stepping off on the carpet, and then we controlled this entire experience all the way through.
So did you switch off because that was less meaningful? Did you derive less fulfillment in your life in terms of...
Yeah, so really great question, right? Because if we all get centered up on what matters to me most, and where do I want to lend my talent and time and experience, those things are cool, but they're in the land of Learjets and yachts and that shit like that. And most people I know love can't have that. So Mark's how'd you like to work on this thing that would make a difference, and a lot of people in the world could potentially have it? So
beautiful.
Attractive.
Absolutely.
To me, personally.
So no regrets. You're very happy to have switched over.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like it. And so
to answer your previous question, we should look for a cute picture of one of my boys in one of the earlier prototypes, and they're tiny little blonde guys, and they're your size now.
Wow.
that'd be an interesting picture for sure.
Put it behind you on the green screen. That's wonderful. And so to dive into your day-to-day, like, do you just have a lot of meetings with individual finding their pain points, or like, what does the day in the life of Joe Morgan actually look like in terms of what does a people liaison do?
Yeah, so I'm the go-to guy for HR. If HR is challenged with somebody, I can go in there and try to make a difference and coach them up a little bit, help them perform. And then, of course, Terry, Mark, and Jesse, I'm the hey you, can you go over here, help these guys make a difference? So it could be engineering, it could be creative. A lot of effort the last year or so in product support, because we're creating that from scratch. So a lot of energy going into coaching and training and developing those guys. And then we also, as you're aware of, we built up customer experience from nothing. And I got the honor of helping promote the second female Arcimoto person to director level.
Is that Curia?
Jackie.
Beautiful.
Curia is amazing too, but she'll probably be next in line.
Beautiful. And so what excites you about Arcimoto's future? What keeps you involved with the Arcimoto vision and says, I'm a part of this team and I drive fulfillment because I think Arcimoto will have this impact on the world?
Well, we just lived through 24 months of all kinds of shit show, right? And interesting to experience the problems in the environment accelerating rapidly, and then really fascinating to see what happened in nature when we're locked down for a year. There's some interesting things that happened there. Like, I love the people, I love the team. When the coach industry, after I transferred over, a couple years later, it collapsed. And the economic developer here for the city of Eugene was telling me that cost Eugene, Springfield, like 5,000 jobs. So that's 5,000 families touched, right? They've made a minor comeback, but most of it moved to Indiana. So wouldn't it be cool if we could put a whole bunch of people to work building Arcimotos for the world?
Absolutely.
And then rental operations are fascinating.
Yeah. So are you a part of the rental operations? Were you there at the genesis of it? Are you involved in it day to day? Because I don't think we've had anyone from rentals on.
I definitely am supporting them, coaching, mentoring, problem solving for those guys. Like, that's a brand new part of the operation. And of course, when you're brand new, you're not even sure who you talk to get assistance in solving your challenges. So yeah, pretty fun watching that start to build up too.
Yeah. And so getting to meet the person who mentors everyone at Arcimoto, did you have a mentor? And specifically, did you work closely with Mark? Did anyone mentor you into developing into this person who mentors people?
Well, 10 years in combat units, I've had some really great leaders where, people's lives were in my hands day to day. So there's nothing like that learning curve to accelerate your own development. I've been super fortunate with, like Terry Becker has mentored me over the years. Like, he gave me a gift, Tiger, one year. It was, if you think about it, you and I could go to any team on the planet and be valuable. And ultimately, as you progress into different seasons of life, what's worth working on? And where do we want to lend our talents, And he's a great engineering mind, great strategic mind. I got to spend a ton of time with Mark, so Mark's a brilliant guy.
Absolutely.
And so I've been really fortunate. Like, everyone has poured into me, basically.
That's awesome. And when did that start? You said you were working weekends and nights. How did you find Arcimoto when you started doing that? Did you meet Mark? Did you meet the company?
I was running a little custom paint shop on the side, shooting beautiful motorcycles for veterans, mostly coming back from Iraq. And a buddy of mine said, how'd you like to do this little custom paint job on a buggy? Have you ever seen one of those?
No.
Small scooter, electric, had kind of an aircraft canopy over the top. So, and of course, in true Arcimoto style, they said, we need it by Wednesday or something like that, right? So I put candy apple red on it, did some freehand flames, got it to him in a couple of days, and I think Mark had a little poetry slam. And I was like, what the fuck? What are you guys working on over here? What are you creating? What is this whole idea about. So
Yeah. And then you said that was 5 months, or how long of working weekends and nights?
about 5 months.
5 months, and then Mark offered you a position.
Well, he was convincing,
Oh.
you know.
What does that mean?
It was a conversation on like, how would you like to give up all of this and come help me create this?
It's
And it was a
good to
scary
know.
jump.
Yeah.
Scary jump. But like I really wanted it in my heart, so
So he didn't give you the classic, here's an offer you cannot refuse.
no.
It
It was about things that matter.
That's beautiful.
Like, where do you want to lend yourself, and how'd you like to help me create this thing for the world that matters?
Yeah. Has that always been an important aspect of your life? Like back when you were in the military, I'm curious how that shaped you into today. You're someone who values the change you're making in the world, the difference you're making on individual people's lives. Were you always that way? Or did you have a big life change, like some health thing come up, or the military changed your way of thinking? What formed you into who you are today?
That's an excellent question. Like, I come from an abusive home, so joining the Army was my way out. Like, I went, took the test, signed up, swore the oath, and then told my folks 2 weeks of hell and shipped out. Along that journey, I turned down officer school twice, and I was an angry young man, so the infantry knows how to harness that. But along that journey, I was like, it became about how many people can I actually bring home safely.
To stop you for a quick second, you said you were an angry young man. I've never once seen you in any form of anger in your voice or anything. So you cut that out of your life, or like, did you use it all up in the military? How does that work?
How does that work? I don't know. I'm giving you the straight fucking version. Like,
Yeah.
I was a super angry guy, like,
And now you
come
are.
from a lot of abuse, so like they knew how to harness that. But along that journey, something shifted. There was no particular moment that I could point to. But then it became about me caring about people and trying to bring them home alive is what it became about. So, yeah. And then in the last 5 or 6 years, I've been doing a lot of personal growth and development, led some self-expression leadership programs for Landmark Worldwide, and exploration of who I am. And, if you and I are sitting around the campfire, the conversation is going to get to eventually between you and I, like, what's your purpose in life and what's your gift to humanity?
Wow. Some hard questions to answer for a lot of people.
I'll look forward to your answer.
Yeah. And so day to day, what would constitute you laying in bed at the end of the day and saying, that was an awesome day, I crushed it, I'm so happy with what happened, it went exactly how I want? What like sort of change, like someone, makes a breakthrough in their mental, like what would constitute you having a really successful feel-good day?
I think for me, the beautiful thing is watching other people grow and develop, as they are, they're inspired and they start winning. Like, I love the servant style of leadership where you just lift up everyone around you. And of course, all things rise. So, yeah, watching other people win and watching other people grow and watching other people I love and care about overcoming their own mindset and their own limitations, self-imposed limitations.
Beautiful. And so that's really changed from back in the day. Making a beautiful flame or racing stripe on a vehicle was your great day. Were you happy to make the change from working on physical goods, painting, to working on people?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you think of all the things I can contribute to, which is quite a bit, like, it's much more fulfilling pouring into other human beings and watching them blossom and grow.
Absolutely. If someone's listening to this and saying, I want that job, how could someone prepare or train or start on that career path?
I think 27 years of leadership training would be your start.
Like
so that's what I've got tucked in, yeah.
Wow.
Well,
I like it. And so do you hope to kind of stay in this position? Like, what would you like to do going forward with Arcimoto? Like, I mean, that's a beautiful thing is you never have to retire from a job where you're just hanging out talking with people and helping them grow. It's not like it's going to be physically tiring on your body. Do you hope to stay in this position for, all of Arcimoto's future and just making sure everyone becomes their best self?
I think now for me, Tiger, is like a sense of urgency to grow and develop as many leaders as I can. whatever time I have left at this organization, I'm super grateful for. And I would really like it to make a difference and just create Joes all over the company.
And what does that look like, good leadership? Because when we first met, not to get too personal,
totally.
I pushed back against leadership, the idea of it a little bit, the idea that like being an independent employee that, doesn't have people telling them what to do, or like they just kind of are fulfilling is a positive thing. But you've really kind of opened my mind to some level of structure and leadership is a positive thing. What do you look for in people when you say, I'm going to develop them into a leader? Like who at Arcimoto have you turned into a leader, and what'd you see in them and what'd you develop? I've
poured into almost everybody by now, so we don't need to point them out individually. What's the answer to your question? I know my intuition serves me well. We've talked about when new people come on to Arcimoto, do they have high levels of integrity? Do they look out for their code workers like I've got your back no matter what? Mm-hmm. And are you coachable? And not everybody likes the word coachable. Coachable as in you can grow and develop.
Yeah.
You can learn new things. I believe that, if you and I are a student for life, there is no mountaintop.
Yeah.
We just keep growing.
It's a fast
There's no limits.
So do you believe that the C-suite, everyone's still coachable?
Yeah, absolutely. They're an amazing group of people.
Absolutely.
And of course, they are where they are in their journey, and there's growth and development for all of us all the time.
Yeah. And so knowing Mark for 14 years now, how have you seen him in his leadership role develop over the course of over a decade? Being the leader of a small startup to being the leader of a full-fledged publicly traded company.
Super generous man. The gift he gave me was how to be a generous man in the world, and what that looked like in real life. It's funny, because when we started in the early days, he would give his pitch and he sucked bad. So I said, let's set up a camera and we'll film you giving your elevator pitch, and he told me to fuck off.
Wow.
So he told me to fuck off again. Told me to fuck off a third time. And I was like, cool, I'll meet you in the conference room. We'll have the camera set up.
Yeah.
And we did film him. And he took it home, and it's really different, how we look on film, right? How we occur to the other human being in the world. And what's that like? What's your experience of me? I have my own internal experience. But the thing was, Mark took it to heart. And he saw himself, and he began to practice, and then he gave his first TED Talk, man, and I shit you not, I had tears in my eyes. So it's you're on your way.
That's beautiful.
You just get better and better and better. And now when you see him speak, it's really beautiful. Impeccable. It just flows right through him. Genuine, authentic, inspiring.
Absolutely inspiring. It'd be hard to imagine a Mark who isn't a good public speaker.
Yeah, well, that was a long time ago, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's so good at it now. It's really great. So super proud of him.
Yeah, him and then Jesse. How have you seen? Because we had Jesse on the show. His episode will come out eventually once it gets past the board of directors. But he started as VP, and now he's the chief strategy officer. What was the transition of hierarchy in Arcimoto like? How have you seen? Because you've seen all of the leaders of Arcimoto transform. Who had some big transformations, and I'm curious what Jesse's looks like in specific.
Jesse's got I love Jesse, amazing human being, and funny and quirky, and he's got a beautiful strategic mind. And watching him grow and develop and become more mature and more confident, because I remember in the middle of the night we had a conversation between he and I over a glass of wine, and talking about this epic story that we're creating is about people and about communities and about the world. And our conversations will revolve around who are we and what do we do and say that people will believe. Because it's in the early days, no one believed in us. They would just outwardly tell us no over and over and over.
People don't want
Can't
electric vehicles, or people don't want three-wheel vehicles? Or
no, it's too difficult to scrap up from nothing. I don't know if I shared with you, but like Mark and I went and sat down with 7 individuals I got together, and they were mostly manufacturing, engineering, but they were pros in their realm. And he laid out this really crappy napkin sketch and gave his little spiel, and all of them said, fuck, no fucking way. Can't be done, undercapitalized, don't have a design, don't have a team, blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, if we walk around right now and show people what we created, apparently it can be done. So,
and so
pretty amazing.
What was convincing about Mark's pitch to you? Because back when everyone else was saying no, you did say yes and joined. Like, what did he say to you that was convincing at that time that maybe like didn't work with other people or didn't land?
I can only speak for myself internally, right? So, like, where the previous experiences I had, I was excellent at. It was not aligned with me. This idea is very aligned with who I am and what I care about in the world.
Yeah, and to go back to that, you kind of answered in a very ethereal way of what you're excited about Arcimoto's impact is. I understood it as the climate you think is very important, like saving the environment and climate change.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you've ever seen a FLIR photograph of like kids walking down the sidewalk with traffic right next to them. Car exhaust you can't visually pick up with your eyesight, but if you lay a FLIR camera down on the sidewalk, those kids are just getting bathed in that.
Wow.
Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Because we can't physically see it with our eyes doesn't mean it's not there, right?
Yeah. See,
so that's a compelling image.
That's what's interesting to hear is like climate change is obviously a big one, but more specific, like exhaust pollution. And for me, it's many things like just the noise pollution of living in a city. Once we transition to electric vehicles, will be a lot better. People say tire noise creates more of it. We have 3 wheels, not even 4, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's going to improve sound and livability of cities quite a bit. The actual ecosystem of a city is really important.
It's fascinating how we can have an impact in ways you wouldn't immediately see. Like, I put the manufacturing crew on 410s like 9 years ago. My intent there was better quality of life for the crew. Because like in an ideal world, we'll finish our mission by Thursday evening. You have 3 days to go fishing, camping, hike at the coast, like whatever you want to do. Recharge your mind, body, and spirit and come back to work. Years later, somebody pointed out to me, because I did the same thing with a lot of the crew at Marathon, and they pointed out, what do you think the impact is of a 300-person crew not driving 1 day a week? What's the impact on that in 1 year? That'll play with your brain a little bit.
Absolutely. So now you're at 7 days a week, 6 hours a day. It's all about a balance.
Yeah, it is about balance for sure.
Yeah. So you also, I think, take into account by changing the culture of the company, making sure employees don't get burnt out, trying to find a good work-life balance.
Yeah, I've had an interesting experience. I had a 2-year run with 0 turnover at Marathon.
Wow.
That's supposed to be mathematically impossible, but I was very, very intentional about creating that, and it was incredible.
How large was the crew? Because that's a big component.
20.
Okay.
20.
You know, you have a 0 turnover of a crew
crew.
of 1. That's not.
No, 20.
Wow.
We maintained 20 for 2 years. And the interesting thing about that was, I don't know if we need to get into it, but I had an experience with one of the crew members was, the Winnie the Pooh character Eeyore?
Yeah.
So Eeyore would greet me every morning and be like, this is fucked up, that's fucked up, this is fucked up, and this is fucked up. And I was like, I haven't had coffee yet. Yeah. Good morning.
Yeah.
And I had a dream one night that what would happen if I stopped putting all my energy into Eeyore and poured into the rest of the crew? What would actually happen mathematically, and what would their quality of life to be? Mm-hmm. So I came back to work, and Eeyore greeted me, and I said, you get paid to get the job done. Go get the fucking job done. Yeah. Quit in 3 days. Said I was the worst leader he's ever had and a terrible human being. We hired another guy. Everybody was openly joyous because the new guy was like, hey, how can I help? What can I do? Yeah. And then after that, I poured into the crew and made a 2-year run.
It's fascinating how big of an impact. It's like someone's specific skill set matters a lot, but also how they play into the team is a large component. Do you have some sort of say in who gets hired, or do you just help shape whoever does get hired into someone who's a team player and a positive?
We're getting so big, I don't actually get a say in everybody that comes on board now, but try to influence look for certain things.
Yeah, but back in the day, you did have a say. Did everyone,
Sure.
everyone who was working at Arcimoto, when it was how many, 10 employees, got a say on that?
Well, Mark would say, hey, I think we should hire Tiger. What do you think?
Yeah, and that did happen. Mark gave Kenzie and I a pretty compelling thing to say, hey, do you want to make a positive difference for the world? And the last 6-8 months have been just a magical thing, and you get to meet people like you, and it is probably my favorite work culture that I've been a part of. It took me a minute to integrate, and Kenzie will probably agree. It's fascinating to have your coworkers be your friends, but not even out of necessity of I'm around them for 8 hours a day, I have to be friends with them. But I'm I genuinely like all the people at Arcimoto, and I guess that's in a large part because you changing the culture for the better. So thank you for your work.
Well, that's very generous from you, and I appreciate that reflection. I want everybody to win, man.
Yeah.
I want them to win. If you come up to me and you say, my journey at Arcimoto's done, I want it to sound something like, because I got my dream job at SpaceX or whatever, or I'm going to build baby hospitals in Africa, or whatever your ultimate thing is there. So
yeah, I don't know how
that would
usual
be cool.
it is. It seems very unusual for a company to have a position for someone who just makes sure that everyone else is reaching their highest potential. But when you think about it, it's a very important part that every single other 250 employees at Arcimoto are 100% of their capability is being used. So it's a fascinating role that I'm sure probably more companies could utilize.
Well, if you ask me what I dream about, right, I would say I'd love to create a C-suite culture officer position, not for me, but so I could give it away to the next person that I'm going to pass this baton to. So they take countless generations into the future along the Arcimoto journey, and they preserve that culture and build on it and make it even better.
Yeah. Have you found it hard to, a culture can only get so large before subsections of different cultures. Like the engineering has their own clique. How have you managed to keep one cohesive culture with 250 employees?
It's tough, man. There's no playbook that I really know of. It's leadership, right? It's the word you were dancing around for sure. The leader embracing the culture and actively creating it.
Yeah.
Big mission. Just that part of it is a big mission. Absolutely.
With the couple last minutes of the show, do you have anything if anyone's listened to you for this long, some important aspects of your life that you may want to you could talk to your 20-year-old self, what advice would you give, kind of thing?
Don't be so angry, for sure.
Yeah.
I am grateful of my experiences in the Army. Of course, I'd be less gung-ho for your children to do it. It's very dangerous, and every time I discover that one of my infantry buddies came home safe, I am super grateful for that. And then, I would tell myself the same thing that I already know, which is don't give up. Stand in the face of everyone not believing all around you and telling you no, and go ahead and stand up, chin up, and get it done anyways.
Beautiful.
Just make it happen.
I love it. Thank you very much for coming on the show, and everyone for listening. This is, the show is really developing, and thanks for people like you coming on the show and kind of giving a spotlight into what the Arcimoto culture is like.
Cool, man.
All right. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Bye-bye.